So red does another armed intervention against blue. There's 7 more culture, develops military theory, plays efficient upgrade to twice to upgrade those mines, as we thought might happen. Increases population, takes professional sports and satellites and patriotism. So red has a lot of resource production. So blue revolts into democracy. It's interesting. Disbands a warrior, builds a cannon, adopts a new tactic. So it went from 11 to 12 strength, maybe? It's interesting. So red has a lot of production. Can finish this in 2. And then take this with all of their actions. So we do have a war card. And I think we had talked about canceling the pact this turn and starting the war next turn. So the good thing is that if we do that, if we cancel the pact, red might declare war. And then we'll see what blue does. But if blue stays in it, then we can declare war the next turn. And there's this fear with this order that blue won't resign. Then red's war would resolve, and then blue does resign before our war resolves, but we'll be in H4 by then, and blue won't be able to resign in H4. So that's not an issue. And I think we can get pretty strong here, and red cannot get close because red does not have air forces. Plus we're up by 30 culture now, so largely I think this is just a cherry on the top at this point. I don't think red can do much to come back at this point. But so we have options like impact of architecture I think would be good for us. Impact of balance. We had thought technology might be, but I'm not sure we're going to get to where it's good enough to do. So if we did just a non-military turn, we leave the pact as is, so red can't do a war. You'd maybe play impact of architecture, and then build another movies. You still have corruption, so we have to find something else to do. We can't quite get into these governments to get a 4th movies, but we could research journalism and get one of those. So now we're getting 20 culture, which is a lot, and I don't think red's gonna be able to catch up no matter what they do. And that's pretty safe. I think that's a safe bet. We have 2 actions left. We can I know we don't really need engineering here, but we could take it. Take engineering and tanks and get 2 next time. We can do engineering genius and reserves. We actually could even, instead of doing that movies, we could research journalism. 2 of those potentially. 18 culture, but a little more science, which would get us into stuff sooner. So this is an option. It's fine. I think we win with it. Even with all these resources, I'm not sure really what red can do. They don't have enough population. They can finish a couple wonders, but even that wouldn't be enough to catch up. This plays nicely into more text with the science. Arguably you could even do another one of these for more culture and more science, which is good for spaceflight and stuff, but it's maybe a little aggressive. So the other option is if we wanted to go military, we would do something like getting as much stuff in place this turn as possible. So it's a cannon, a couple of those cannons, maybe even one more, and play the tactic. So now we're up to 30, and the next turn we would play a cannon and 2 air forces, and that would get us up to 3 plus 10, 43, 73, because it's 3 plus 10 for another tactic is 13, that's 43, plus 2 air forces would be 15 more each. That's 30 more, so 43, 73 strength. And we do that with 1 cannon, 2 air forces, which is 3 military actions, and then 3 more for the war. And that's definitely more culture than the other option. And I don't think there's anything anyone can do about it. With the first option, we would get 6 more culture times 3, 18 culture, plus 6, maybe 18 more science, which is maybe 2 techs for being generous. So it's 6 here, plus 8 for impact of tech is 14. So 14, it's like maybe 35 to 40 culture from all of that. And this war is going to get us 65 culture. And blue would not be able to resign. So it all kind of depends on if blue were weakest. So there is some incentive to not play an event right now. Whatever this event blue played is, it's probably not strength related, but whatever it is. So if we do military alliance, so if blue accepts this pact, then loss of sovereignty is cancelled, and red and I can again attack and war against blue. So I think this is the right next step to take. If he accepts it, then we'll go ahead with the military approach. If he doesn't accept it, then we'll go with the other approach. And blue did not accept it. Blue likes the other pact better. Okay, so we're not doing a war against blue. We have learned that much. So blue did not accept the pact. So we have the plan where we just go into movies and journalism, get some science and culture. I think there's a slight concern that red could do a war against me then. I think red can get to almost 50. I think we can defend that if we just build out 3 units here plus air forces. A problem there is if we spend all the resources on movies and journalism, we don't have enough resources to build this and defend. And so I think we should do a little bit of work this turn to prepare for the war contingency. We can try to get into this tactic. We already have 3 people on swordsman though, so we'd have to develop cannon and move them over, which does work. I don't think we need to do that to defend against the war reasonably well though. I think we could get into Air Force this turn, but a risk is that you lose riflemen before next turn, which would just cost you 4 strength potentially, so it's not a huge deal. Basically you'd build this tactic again and you would get 2, 8, 16 more. So we'd be at 52, and I think that's a reasonable defense. This tactic, this tech is good for impact of tech also. I don't think we're going to have to defend any more than 52 in this situation, so I think this is fine. I think the other option here is riflemen and and then you just build some of these in preparation, which I think is still an option. We're a little weaker. We developed tech that works good for space flight, not as good for impact of tech if we're actually going to use that. It's also have as much, so you can do that and another for the cost of Air Force. And we might lose Rifleman later. But here, it's 7 resources instead of, I guess it's actually the same. This would have been 7.5. Actually, no, it's 5.7.9 to do that. This is a little cheaper. So what does the rest of the turn look like if we do this? I think we can take engineering and tanks. We're kind of out of hand space now. So we can play reserves for some... Well, maybe we don't take these, actually. Maybe instead what we do is build a movie. We can take reserves then and tanks, take tanks away. Now we also have this option where we can upgrade tanks if we needed to, just for a little extra strength. And I think that would be the turn. So now we have 14 plus 8, 22 resources next turn. And 22 would be, let's see, 5, 10, 13 plus 7. So we could actually rebuild this again if we needed to with this many resources. We're not corrupt. We did not get journalism, but I think that's fine here. There's other stuff we can research that would be as good. Professional sports at this point. And the movies gives us a little extra culture, which is good. So I think we should go with this, and I think we'll be in a pretty great spot. Okay, looks good, so we'll end the turn. We don't need 2 of these tactics. Probably won't try this again. The impact of bounce does not look too good. And then we should be good.